Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my most anticipated book releases for the first half of 2023. I know that there's going to be a lot more books that are announced in the second half, so I'm only going to go over the first 6 months from January to June in this video. I also, just to narrow it down for me, I am only going to be talking about in this video standalones or series that are starting in 2023. So any series that are ongoing, make sure you check out my monthly book release videos that I'm excited about to see more of those series that are coming out. I also just made my January new release books that I'm excited about. I just posted that video, so for the January books in this video, I'm not going to go over a synopsis breakdown. I'm just going to give you a high overview of what they are and when they're coming out. So the first book is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. This is her YA romance debut book, and it releases January 3rd. The next book that I'm excited about in January is The Game by V.I. Keeland. It comes out January 16th. It's a sports romance, and I loved V.I. Keeland's writing. And then finally, Georgie All Along by Kate Clayborn, which releases January 24th and is a contemporary romance. I love Kate Clayborn's writing, so I'm very excited about this. Now that we've flown through the January releases, let's move on to February. The first February release that I'm excited about is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. This is going to be the first in her series called A Vine Mess. The second one is releasing later in June. The second one is also releasing in 2023, but I'm going to just talk about the first one for this video. So this is an opposites attract romance, and the synopsis for it is: Hallie Welch fell hard for Julian Voss at 14 after they almost kissed in the dark vineyards of his family winery. Now the prodigal hottie has returned to their small Napa town. When Hallie is hired to revamp the gardens on the Voss estate, she wonders if she'll finally get that smooch. But the grump professor isn't the teenager she remembers, and their polar opposite personalities clash spectacularly. One wine-fueled girls' night later, Hallie can't shake the sense that she did something reckless, and then she remembers the drunken secret admirer letter she left for Julian. On sabbatical from his Ivy League, Julian plans to write a novel, but having Hallie gardening right outside his window is the ultimate distraction. He can't focus on anything else until he finds an anonymous letter sent by a woman from his past. Even as Julian wonders about this admirer, he's sucked further into Hallie's orbit, and there's something so familiar about her, and her very presence is turning his world upside down. I love Tessa Bailey's books, so anything she writes is a must-read for me, but she does Grumpy Sunshine books so well, and I'm so excited for this one. I can't wait to see what twist she puts on the two friends and how their past is going to collide. The second book that I'm excited about that releases in February is Someone Else's Shoes by Jojo Moyes. This is a women's fiction book that releases February 7th. The synopsis is: Nisha Cantor lives the globe-trotting life of the seriously wealthy until her husband announces a divorce and cuts her off. Nisha is determined to hang on to her glamorous life, but in the meantime, she must scrape by to cope. She doesn't even have the shoes she was in until a moment ago standing in. That's because Sam Kemp, in the bleakest point of her life, has accidentally taken Nisha's gym bag. When she tries on Nisha's 6-inch high Christian Louboutin red crocodile shoes, the resulting jolt of confidence that makes her realize something must change, and that thing is herself. I love Jojo Moyes' writing style. Even though I don't typically go for women's fiction, I'm really excited about this one. And lastly, in February is End of Story by Kylie Scott, which is an opposites attract romance again that releases February 14th. The synopsis for this one is: when Susie Bowen inherits a charming fixer-upper from her aunt, she's excited to start living her best HGTV life. But when she opens the door to find that her contractor is none other than her ex's best friend, Lars, the same man who witnessed their humiliating public breakup 6 months ago, she isn't exactly eager to have anyone else around whose alliance is with the enemy. But beggars can't be choosers, and the sooner the repairs are done, the sooner she can get back to embracing singledom. Things go from awkward to unbelievable when Lars discovers a divorce certificate hidden in a wall and dated 10 years into the future, with both their names on it. It couldn't be real, could it? As Susie and Lars work to unravel the document's origins, the impossibility of a spark between them suddenly doesn't seem so far-fetched. But would a relationship between them be doomed before it's even begun? This romance sounds super intriguing, a home renovation or mystery and growing chemistry. It just sounds so fun and like the perfect combination for a must read in 2023. For March, the only book that I have on here right now is Love and Other Flight Delays by Denise Williams. This is a contemporary romance. It's actually a compilation of the 3 airport novellas that she released last year. So the first one is The Love Connection, which is an airport pet groomer meets a frequent flyer crush and finds herself in a fake dating situation with a professional risk assessor who moonlights as a romance author. And then the second novella is The Missed Connection, which is 2 strangers share a romantic night only to discover months later that their professional rivals about to embark on an extended business trip together in this grumpy meets sunshine romance. And finally, The Sweetest Connection. 2 best friends have 1 week to return a lost love letter found in a candy store at the airport and work up the courage to confess the deep feelings between them before one of them leaves the country. I love Denise Williams' writing, so I'm sure that I'm going to love these novellas, and I'm happy that they're all going to be compiled into one book for me to read. So in April, the first book that I'm excited about is Coach by Devney Perry. This is a sports romance. The synopsis says, football star, single dad, and once a long time ago, mine. I've spent the better part of a decade forgetting Ford Ellis. Avoiding him was easy when the only place I saw his face was on ESPN, and a remote control could easily fix that problem. Except my boss just hired Ford as the new head coach for the Treasure State Wildcats. Not only will I be stuck watching him on the sidelines this season, but avoiding him will be impossible now that we're working together. Maybe I haven't forgotten Ford. Maybe he hasn't forgotten me either. Except those maybes won't change the fact that we were never meant to be. Maybe he was mine once, but as of today, the only thing I'll be calling Ford is Coach. So I love Devney Perry's writing, and the tropes in this book sound perfection. Single dad, second chance romance, sports romance, just great tropes. So the second book that I'm really excited about in April is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This is a contemporary romance that releases April 11th. The synopsis is, Dr. Brianna Ortiz's life is seriously flatlining, but just when all systems are set to hate, Dr. Jacob Maddox completely flips the game by sending Brianna a letter. And it's a really good letter, like the kind that proves that Jacob isn't actually Satan. Worse, he might be this fantastically funny and subversively likable guy who's terrible at first impressions, because suddenly he and Bria are exchanging letters, sharing lunch dates in her sob closet, and discussing the merits of freakishly tiny horses. But when Jacob decides to give Brianna the best gift imaginable, a kidney for her brother, she wonders just how she can resist this quietly sexy new doctor, especially when he calls in a favor she can't refuse. So Abby Jimenez is quickly becoming a must-read author for me. I have read 2 of her books and they've both been 5 stars for me, and so I'm just really excited for this one too, and I think it sounds like it's going to be another 5-star. And of course, I can't end April without including Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is a second chance romance that releases April 25th. I absolutely love Emily Henry's writing. She can do no wrong in my eyes, so this was a no-brainer to be included in my most anticipated for 2023. So the synopsis for this book is, Harriet and Wynne have been the perfect couple since they met in college, except now, for reasons they're still not discussing, they're not. They broke up 5 months ago and they still haven't told their best friends, which is how they find themselves sharing a bedroom at the main cottage that has been their friend group's yearly getaway for the last decade. Only this year, Harriet and Wynne are lying through their teeth and trying not to notice how desperately they still want each other. Because the cottage is for sale and this is the last week they'll all have to spend in this place. They can't stand to break their friends' hearts, so they'll play their parts. Harriet will be the driven surgical resident who never starts a fight, and Wynne will be a laid-back charmer who never lets the cracks show. After years of being in love, how hard can it be to fake it for 1 week in front of all who know you best? So for May, the first book that I'm excited about is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This is a second chance romance that releases May 2nd. The synopsis for this one is, Fern Brookbanks has wasted far too much of her adult life thinking about Will Baxter. She spent just 24 hours in her early 20s with the aggravatingly attractive, idealistic artist, a chance encounter that spiraled into a day-long adventure in the city. The timing was wrong, but their connection was undeniable. They shared a secret, every dream, and made a pact to meet 1 year later. Fern showed up, Will didn't. At 32, Fern's life doesn't look at all how she once imagined it would. Instead of living in the city, Fern's back home running her mother's lakeside resort, something she vowed never to do. The place is in disarray, her ex-boyfriend's the manager, and Fern doesn't know where to begin. She needs a plan, a lifeline. To her surprise, it comes in the form of Will, who arrives 9 years too late, with a suitcase in tow and an offer to help on his lips. Will may be the only person who understands what Fern's going through. How could she possibly trust this expensive suit-wearing mirage who seems nothing like the young man she met all those years ago? Will's hiding something, and Fern's not sure she wants to know what it is. But 10 years ago, Will Baxter rescued Fern. Can she do the same for him? So Every Summer After was one of the best books that I read last year. It was actually came in number 2 for my top 10 books I read in 2022. And I really hope this one takes place in Ontario again, because the description of the scenery and everything from the last book is really what drew me in, and I'm excited and hope that it's in this one too. The second book that I'm excited about in May is The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. This is a contemporary romance that releases May 16th. The synopsis is: Felicity, or Fizzy Chen, is lost. Sure, she's got an incredible career as a beloved romance novelist with a slew of bestsellers under her belt, but when she's asked to give a commencement address, it hits her. She hasn't been practicing what she's preached. Fizzy hasn't ever really been in love. What happens when the optimism she spent her career encouraging readers starts to feel like a lie? Connor Prince, documentary filmmaker and single father, loves his work in large part because it allows him to live near his daughter. But when his profit-minded boss orders him to create a reality TV show, putting his job on the line, Connor is out of his element. Desperate to find his romantic lead, a chance run-in with an exasperated Fizzy offers Connor the perfect solution. What if he could show the queen of romance herself falling head over heels for all the world to see? Fizzy gives him a hard pass, unless he agrees to cast the contestants according to a list of romance archetypes. When he says yes and the production of the True Love Experiment begins, Connor wonders if that perfect match will ever be in the cue cards for him too. So Christina Lauren is another one of those auto-buy authors for me. I love reality TV shows as well as romance books. My book club actually is both a reality TV show club as well as a book club. So this one is just like, it seems like it was written for me. I'm so excited for it. Finally, in May, the last book that I'm excited about is 14 Days, an unauthorized gathering by various authors, which releases May 30th. It is literary fiction and a bunch of short stories. The description of it is: 1 week into the COVID-19 shutdown, tenants of a Lower East Side apartment building in Manhattan have begun to gather on the rooftop and tell stories. With each passing night, more and more neighbors gather, bringing chairs and milk crates and overturned pails. Gradually, the tenants, some of whom have barely spoken to each other, become real neighbors. In this Decameron-like serial novel, General Editor Margaret Atwood, Authors Guild President Douglas Preston, and a star-studded list of contributors create a beautiful ode to the people who couldn't get away from the city when the pandemic hit. A dazzling, heartwarming collection, 14 Days reveals how, beneath the horrible loss and suffering, some communities managed to become stronger. I think I'm finally far enough away from the pandemic that I can handle a pandemic story, and I just could not pass up this list of authors that is included in these short stories, so I just had to include it as a must read for this year. And moving on to June, the first book is A Little Ray of Sunshine by Kristen Higgins. This is a women's fiction that releases June 6th. The synopsis is: a kid walks into your bookstore and says to you, "Guess what? I'm your son. Surprise!" His name is Matthew Walker, and he's come to spend the summer on the Cape with his parents. You're overjoyed and stunned and worried and yearn to meet him, but you didn't know it would be like this. Did you mention feeling stunned? Even more gobsmacked is your parents. How did she keep this secret for so long? More than the truth of that baby will come out over the course of the summer. A summer filled with emotion as more than one secret is revealed. Long lost hurts are discovered, and one slightly lost realizes the best of everything is yet to come. So I actually read a Kristen Higgins book when I was first getting back into reading after university, and I absolutely loved it. So when I saw this one was coming out in June, I was like, I've got to read it. And I'm really hoping I love it just as much as I did the other one. Next in June is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, which is a enemies to lovers romance that releases June 13th. The synopsis is, the many lives of theoretical physicist Elsie Hanaway have finally caught up with her. By day, she's an adjunct professor toiling away at grading labs and teaching thermodynamics in the hopes of landing tenure. By other day, Elsie makes up for her non-existent paycheck by offering her services as a fake girlfriend, tapping into her expertly honed people-pleasing skills to embody whichever version of herself the client needs. Honestly, it's a pretty sweet gig, until Jack Smith, the annoyingly attractive and arrogant older brother of her favorite client, turns out to be the cold-hearted experimental physicist who ruined her mentor's career and undermined the reputation of theorists everywhere. And he's the same Jack Smith who rules over the physics department at MIT, standing right between Elsie and her dream job. Elsie is prepared for an all-out battle of scholarly sabotage, but those long penetrating looks, not having to be anything other than her true self when she's with him, will falling into an experimentalist's orbit finally tempt her into putting her most guarded theories on love into practice. So, obviously, Ali Hazelwood writes a great enemies to lovers. All of the books I've read by her are enemies to lovers, and so I'm really excited for another full-length version. And last but not least is Business or Pleasure by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This is a relationship coach romance that releases June 20th. The synopsis is, Chandler Cohen has never felt more like a ghost in Ghost Writer until she attends a signing for a book she wrote and the author doesn't even recognize her. The evening turns more promising when she meets a charming man at the bar and immediately connects with him. But when all their tension culminates in a spectacularly awkward hookup, she decides this is one night better off forgotten. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done. Her next project is ghostwriting a memoir for Finn Walsh, a C-list actor best known for playing a lovable nerd on a cult classic werewolf show who now makes a living appearing at fan conventions across the country. Chandler knows him better from their one-night stand of hilarious mishaps. Chandler's determined to keep their partnership as professional as possible, but when she admits to Finn their night together wasn't as mind-blowing as he thought it was, he's distraught. He intrigues her enough that they strike a deal. When they're not working on his book, Chandler will school Finn in the art of satisfaction. As they grow closer, both in and out of the bedroom, they must figure out what is more important, business or pleasure, or if there's a way for them to have them both. The plot of this one sounds amazing. The plot sounds a lot like The Kiss Quotient, which is one of my favorite romance books of all time, so I'm very excited about this one. And Rachel Lynn Solomon is one of my favorite authors. She's another auto-buy author for me, so I am really excited about this one. Okay, and that's the end of this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave in the comments what books you're most excited for the first half of 2023, and subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.